So we want to thank you guys for joining. We do have the Port of Freeport with us today. If you have any questions, please use the chat button at the bottom. You'll see a chat link, and then you can type in any questions that you may have. And before the session is over, we'll do our best to answer them at this time. And if not, we'll get an answer and reach back out to you. So I'd like to introduce Gina Gary. She's our president of the Brazoria County Hispanic Chamber. Let her say a few things before we begin.
Thank you, Rita, and thank you for everything, coordinating these events for us. I want to first of all thank the Port Freeport of taking their time out and doing this presentation for us. And I think this is going to be something that our businesses would like to, find out how to do business with the port. I think it's always more important to, get that information. Thank you, Jessica, for coordinating our speakers today.
Okay, Jessica, would you like to begin? And we'll do a quick introduction and, what your role is with the port.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Jessica Follett. I am the relatively new public affairs manager here at Port Freeport, started in September. We very much appreciate the Brazoria County Hispanic Chamber collaborating with us, and always appreciate being a partner with you all. So thank you for having us for today.
Thank you. Rob?
Okay, good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is Rob Lowe. I am the CFO for Port Freeport, and I've been with the port about 1.5 years, and again, happy to be here to share what we can with you all.
Great, thank you. Mary?
I'm Mary Campus with Port Freeport. I'm the controller at Port Freeport, and I've been here 26 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
I help them navigate through the pastures without stepping in something.
So. Oh my God, a good way to say that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and begin, and I believe Rob is going to be sharing a presentation with us. So Rob, if you'd like to.
All right. How's that?
Yeah.
Yes, I see it. Mm-hmm.
If I can. Okay. Well, again, thanks for having us. Mary and I are going to try to tag team today's presentation. It's not too lengthy. Kind of give an overview of the port, just to help further educate everyone as to who we are. We're a vital part of Brazoria County and really the whole region. And so it's always a welcome opportunity to get to share that. And then Mary will go through just a couple of purchasing slides and how those processes work here at Port Freeport. So we are a governmental entity that was created by the voters in 1925. So not too far off, we'll be celebrating a 100-year anniversary. So we're the local sponsor for the Harbor Channel. So a lot of local folks would call that the Old River. And we engage with the Army Corps of Engineers, and so we have significant responsibilities, including the investment in infrastructure and cargo handling improvements, and the associated financing that goes along with that. So we are governed by a port commission. So we have 6 commissioners that are elected. We have 4 precincts. Precinct number 1 has 2 commissioners. Precincts 2, 3, and 4, 1 each, and then there is 1 at large. And these are the current Port Freeport commissioners. They're elected biannually. And they have 2, so every 2 years they have 6-year terms, and so they're staggered. So so you have some amount of consistency, and then the opportunity for commissioners to roll on and off in elections to allow the voters to place those commissioners in. So Texas A&M Transportation Institute has conducted an economic impact study. Our most recent one was published in 2019, and that was based on 2017 data, and the numbers are sort of staggering. So total jobs that are impacted through Port Freeport are over 150,000 jobs. Total economic impact in Texas is just under $100 billion, and nationally, right under $150 billion. And you can just see graphically how much that has shifted up in just 3 years. So these are important elements to Port Freeport as we continue to build out that infrastructure, and we seek a partnership with the Corps of Engineers and Congress in regards to funding our projects and things of that nature, or assisting in funding. And so there's just a tremendous amount of economic impact that is the result of Port Freeport being here in Brazoria County. We are one of the 10 fastest growing ports in the U.S. And then you see some of our stats there. We're 10th in chemicals, 19th in total tonnage, and 26th in containers. So now is probably a good point a good mark to point out that when I'm given most of these stats, it's going to be the port as a whole entity. So we have public docks and private docks. So the local industry, we do have local industry that have their own docks, and then we also have public wharves, if you will, where the vessels come in and out bringing traditional commerce, and then we even have some of the chemical industries that we have leases with in regards to they are a tenant of Port Freeport. So we have a combination of public and private, and these numbers are reflective of that combined volume. So more than 900 vessels a year call on Port Freeport, approximately 18 million tons of cargo. And we are projecting tremendous growth as we move forward. On the right-hand side there, you can see some rice, some resin. If you've been down in Port Freeport lately, the auto industry, we've got quite a few cars that are coming in to Port Freeport now, and so we've even expanded that in the last year, and you'll see a lot of automobiles, or even if you're maybe one of the highways on your daily commute, you may see some of these auto carriers, and that's what's driving that. And of course, well, we have steel billets are coming in for the Tenaris facility over in Bay City. That's fairly new the last couple of years. And then the green fruit has always been a staple of Port Freeport, and that's still a strong and vital part of our tenant base. So this speaks.
It looks like it. Can you now hear me?
Can?
I'm so sorry, but it looks like it's. You are going to be mad. It's still in. People are saying, "How can I get on?" Well, we're in practice section still.
Oh no.
Yeah, usually it goes.
You did the practice anyway.
Okay, we're going to start it now. I'm so sorry.
So you want me to go back?
Yes, we're going to have to go back. I was wondering why they couldn't get on. It says you're still in practice session. But,
So
okay.
should I stop sharing and read?
Yes, let's do it again. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Let me bring. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Do you want me to start from the beginning as well, Gina?
Yes, please.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, got you. Okay, I would first like to welcome everyone for joining us today. We have a group from the Port of Freeport. We're really appreciative of them taking their time to come and spend with us and share some information regarding the port. I'm Rita Gamboa. I am the Business Opportunity Chair for the Hispanic Chamber for the South Region of the county. And so we're working really hard to bring these types of virtual events to our businesses and keep them in touch with some opportunities within our county. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask throughout the session, please use the chat button at the bottom of the screen. Type in your questions, and then we'll try to get them answered before the end of the session. If not, we'll get an answer for you guys and reach back out. I'd like to introduce Gina. She's our president of the Brazoria County Hispanic Chamber, and let her say a few words.
Thank you, Rita, and thank you for all that you've done with these webinars. I think this has been very helpful. Want to thank Jessica Follett for working with us and coordinating the speakers for this particular subject. And I want to thank you guys for your partnership. I also want to thank the attendees for attending, and I hope you guys get a lot out of this workshop. So thank you.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and let our Port of Freeport team introduce themselves. Jessica, if you'd like to begin.
Of course. Again, my name is Jessica Follett. I am the Public Affairs Manager here at Port Freeport. I joined relatively recently, back in September, and I just wanted to convey to you all that we really appreciate the partnership with the Brazoria County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we appreciate you guys having us on today. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mary, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Mary Campus. I'm the controller here at Port Freeport. I've been here 26 years, so we have seen a lot of growth and changes in the port, and a lot of good things coming.
That's awesome. And then Rob.
All right. Hi. Thanks and good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for joining. My name is Rob Lowe. I'm the CFO with Port Freeport. I've been on board with the port about a year and a half, and so I lean on Mary for quite a bit. And so today we're going to tag team the presentation, and I'll give you a general overview. Mary go through through a few purchasing slides, and then of course we could answer questions. And when I say we, it'll probably be Mary. Anyway, she's my resource on a daily basis, and she informed me that she had a conflict this morning and she was trying to get back in time, and so I was sweating it a little bit. So Mary, I'm glad you made it back, and but nonetheless, we would get you answers either way, and I do appreciate being here today.
Thank you. So Rob, if you'd like to go ahead and share your screen, we can begin.
All right, how's that?
Great, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. And so again, I'm going to go through just maybe 8 or 10 slides here on the port itself to just give you some background on who we are. We are a governmental entity that was created in 1925, and so coming up on 100 years as a port. We're the local sponsor for the Freeport Harbor Channel, and we engage and partner with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in regards to activities in the harbor, and our responsibilities really revolve around the infrastructure and the cargo handling improvements of the harbor and the associated financing with it. The photo there you're seeing is of our container terminal, and those are what's known as gantry cranes, and so those are relatively new in the last 10 years to Port Freeport. Mary, maybe 2015, 14?
Yes.
Feel about right. And so there's sort of a nice landmark that you can see in the area if you're down in the Freeport area. And if you ever see it and they're extended as they are now, where you see Port Freeport written, that means that there's a vessel there that's being worked. Otherwise, you would see them in the upright position, and that would mean that the dock is clear. But a really neat addition to our, if you will, and this important part of the growth of Port Freeport as we get into the container handling operations. For some reason, I'm having a little bit of a issue advancing now. Oh, there we go. So we are governed by a port commission, which is made up of 6 elected officials. So we have 4 districts. District 1 has 2 commissioners, or precinct 1, I should say, has 2 commissioners. Precincts 2, 3, and 4 represented by 1 elected official, and then there is an at-large position as well. And these are the 6 current members. There's an election every 2 years, so they're staggered. They serve 6-year terms, and we will have the opportunity for an election coming up next May, and things on that will be posted in the weeks to come here. The Texas A&M Transportation Institute has historically conducted economic impact studies regarding Port Freeport. The most recent one was published in 2019. So total jobs impacted in the state is just over 150,000. Total income for the state, $9 billion, and the economic impact is a staggering $98.8 billion that comes through Port Freeport on a national basis. So there is just the way the port system works. There's going to be the majority of that's going to be focused in your state and region, but you can see there's 50% more that just expands beyond as those goods come into the region and get further processed or further pushed out into the economies surrounding us. So 150 billion, nearly 150 billion in total economic impact for the nation through Port Freeport. We are one of the 10 fastest growing ports in the U.S. We have, we're 10th in chemicals, 19th in total tonnage, and then 26 in containers. And looking forward to seeing those numbers continue to grow. Just under 1,000 vessels a year, nearly 18 million tons of cargo, and we are expecting tremendous growth as we continue to move forward. The photos on this slide kind of cover and show the diversity of the port and in regards to our tenants and their cargoes. So we've got rice and grain up there in the top. You've got you got bulk aggregate in the most upper right. You got resins. I think a lot of people are familiar with the resins in the area. Automobiles handling, both imports and exports, is really a growing portion of Port Freeport's tenant base. Steel billets coming in for the Tenaris facility that was constructed over in Bay City, and then the green fruit has been a part of Port Freeport for a very long time and remains a vital part of our tenant base. So this slide captures it with some logos that everyone would probably recognize. I'll point out that we have both privately owned and operated terminals as well as public dock facilities. So the statistics and information that I was sharing earlier in regards to our national impact and the financials to that was a combined impact from the port as a Port Freeport entity. So the public governmental entity that Mary and I and Jessica are a part of, we are a landlord port, so we're just a small portion of that in regards to our staffing here, but we're integrated in and working with all the tenants and the customers that you see listed there. So we have 4 primary strategic initiatives. The first is the deepening and widening of the Freeport Harbor Channel. So this will increase efficiencies in vessel cargo. It'll increase safety within the harbor channel, and this is really based on the ever-growing size of the vessels that are in the waters carrying our goods around the world. So at completion of the current project that we're involved with, we will be the deepest port in Texas. We also, the next initiative would be to build out the port's container handling facilities. So the photo there on the right, you see those 2 gantry cranes that I spoke to earlier in the presentation. And so adjacent to that, we would be, we're under construction right now for an additional berth. So it's part of that. And then the backlands behind it to be able to handle the containers and the movements of goods once they're in and off of these vessels. Next would be to develop a rail served warehousing and distribution facilities. And so there's a couple of different spots here in the port property where those activities are undergoing. And then finally supporting the development of efficient transportation solutions to move this commerce from Freeport and to both from and to Freeport to the Texas markets. And then, as I said, even beyond the Texas markets as we get into the region and in some cases beyond that. So that was sort of a quick high overview, but just to share who we are. And then now I'll let Mary go through a few slides on purchasing, and then we'll try to entertain questions.
Okay, Rob, I'll let you continue screen sharing the slideshow. Go. So as Rob mentioned, we're a landlord port with approximately 40 employees. So what does that mean? You know, there's a lot of ports. Port Houston, you mentioned, they're an operating port. What that means is we don't physically unload the cargo, handle the cargo, unload the ships. We're just providing land that people are using. So that makes our purchasing real small, but I get a lot of phone calls about employment or how to do business with the port, you know, what's going on. And there's a good resource for you at our website. If you go to the About tab, there is a directory that will list all the different companies that are working this cargo or moving this cargo or our tenants. Can you hear me, Rob?
You're
okay.
good.
I didn't see the picture, so I wasn't sure. Okay. So the port itself, each department kind of handles, we don't have a consolidated, we're not big enough to have our own purchasing department. So each department kind of carries their own thing. But what we all have in common, our guidelines and rules that we follow, is purchases that are less than $1,000, they have to get a purchase order. We like to always see if we can get a competitive price. We want to get the best bang for the taxpayer resources. But when you go over 1,000 to 10,000, we get price quotations over the phone. Over 10,000 to 50,000, we want written quotations. And then the Texas Water Code mandates that anything over 50,000, we have to solicit public bids and put advertisements in the newspaper, et cetera, on those things. Next slide, Rob. Our quotation requests. So as I mentioned, each department is responsible for doing their own thing. When we do that, we try to use local vendors. That's kind of at least 2 Brazoria County vendors. Of course, port business is unique, and sometimes you can't find a Brazoria County vendor, and it ends up being Houston. But we try to stay as close as we can to our local vendors. And of course, it's small, if possible, small businesses, minority business, women-owned businesses are all to be included. So after they get their prices, a vendor is selected, and we have to get the best value. And when all things are equal, we're going to take the price. The lowest price should always be taken. But we also consider quality of goods or services. If more than one vendor can deliver at an acceptable price or in a timely manner that we're needing it, that's also measured and looked at. And then also the reliability of the vendor based on the performances documented. You know, we have someone who's done business with us in the past and has performed as we expected and needed, you know, that's also measured. So it's important, you know, if you're a new vendor doing business with a port, it does not hurt at all to provide some references so we can call and get your past performance with what your experience is, you know, to get them some documentation if we're doing that. And if it's construction contracts or professional services, we're also going to run a D&B report and check your financial viability, and just make sure everybody that the vendor's properly registered with the state and all those things that go with that. And just another comment, that if it's a project, for example, a construction project that is taking place that's inside the port secure area, there are security rules, and either you have to have workers escorted or they have to get what's called a TWIC, Transportation's Credential Cards, to be able to gain access to the port. So if it's something that someone is getting a lot of business on, they probably want to have their workers and their people get those TWIC cards. It costs $160, I believe, for that. It's good for 5 years. There's an office here in Freeport that you can go right in person and get and register and apply for your TWIC card and go get it. But that will alleviate the security process a lot. And then if you're coming and going into the port a lot, you can stop off at our Emergency Operations Center where security's housed and get a port badge so you can quickly transport through the gates and come and go and do your business. And lastly, we want you to know that on those things that we have public notice and bid proposals at, we publish that on our website. Not only we always publish in the Facts, which is our local paper, but we also put it on our website, and we've got a link there where you can look at it. But we've also fired up where you can sign up and subscribe to get notices. So that'll help you be aware of notices of things that are coming up that would be publicly bid. And of course, our contact information, Rob mentioned, our website's www.portfreeport.com. And there's Rob's information, mine, as well as Jessica's, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mary. So I know that was sort of brief, a brief overview. We do have a somewhat of a simple model, and we are driven by, in some cases, the public water code. And so in some regards to that, that's the bidding process that Mary sort of spoke to there at the very end. Our contacts are, as Mary said, our contacts, you're welcome to reach out to us at any time, and we can forward you, if you don't find it on the website yourself, or you want to come through Mary or I or Jessica, but Mary and I are probably a little more connected to the financial side of things. We will get it in the right person's hands. I'll back up to the slide where we mentioned that there's that we're a landlord port. So again, our daily expenses are sort of pretty minimum when it comes to repair and maintenance and supplies and those things. We spend a fraction of what you all are probably used to in regards to the chemical industry and maybe others in the region, because we are not actually, as Mary indicated, we're not executing the operation itself in regards to the vessels. So we do not have sort of that high turn in daily supplies and even in maintenance, because we don't operate the vessels. On the other hand, when we have capital investments, which sort of drive us in maintaining the infrastructure of the port, those are really, really large capital jobs typically, and that's where you want to make sure that if your business has an opportunity to participate in those types of jobs, that you would definitely want to engage and sign up and be notified and then follow through with the facts and maintain contact and awareness of what we are bidding, because those are the jobs that are going to be a little healthier to your bids and to your bottom line in your business. We welcome you, of course, on the other stuff. Just want to make sure to be transparent and share just that our direct spending on supplies, maintenance, those types of things is not a large number comparatively to where we are and those economic numbers that we shared earlier. But the capital side is pretty healthy. So for whatever that's worth, that's who we are. And I know, again, sort of simple, but really that's representative of the fact that we're a landlord port. And with that, I think we'll open up to questions. I did see things popping up there. I don't know if we want to, if you guys want to read, if you're going to kind of go through those and
Yeah.
shoot them to us, or how we're going to handle this part.
Yeah, I'll kind of walk through them. So our first question is from Joey Jimenez. He's with Brazos Industries, and he was asking about a link to fill out for a vendor packet. But I think Mary answered that. We just need to go online and complete that. Is that correct, Mary?
When there's something that's up for bid proposal, if you'll check our website, there'll be a link to tells you about the project and instructions on what they need to do to participate in the bidding process.
Okay. And from that bidding process, Mary, I know you talked, Rob, you talked about the capital project side.
Mm-hmm.
On this bidding process, does that include all of the capital work that's going on the port?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be the dominant portion of that, Mary. You know, we had this slide, and I know you guys are going to capture this in a video for playback. We sort of laid out the different levels of what's required, but those bids are going to predominantly be capital. We're not going to have expenditures, daily expenditures, very often that reach those bid levels. Those would be more attaining quotes, where we'd get, you know, the 2 Brazoria County quotes for you know, let's say a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 type purchase. But once you get into that 50,000 level, all that's going to be posted out there.
Okay. And so, so just for confirmation for some of the folks on the line, any kind of bidding opportunity or any supply opportunity that would go through the port with your management team.
Right, and it's actually it'd be a public process. So when we post these items, it would have, as Mary said, the parameters, the requirements of the bid would be listed, and then we would set a date, and we would bring those in and open them and record the bids accordingly, and then there'd be the criteria that would be laid out, and then subsequent to that, generally that's going to be engineering would come back to the Port Commission and make a recommendation, and the Port Commission would approve that bid.
Okay.
Mary, fair enough?
Yes.
Okay, we had a question from Terry Wadley. Terry, I'm not sure what business, if you'd like to introduce the business that you're with. Okay, so she had a question. Do you have regular public meetings where vendors or prospecting vendors are allowed to introduce their services and meet the Port of Freeport personnel?
No, we don't. Of course, we're in the situation where there's a construction project. They will have pre-bid meetings. It'll all be in that package. So
Okay.
they'll have pre-bid meetings and things like that, but just routine purchases and things, we don't.
Okay.
We do have routine Port Commission meetings,
Mm-hmm.
Similar to, say, you know, the county. So we typically meet the second and fourth Thursday of every month for all business, and there's not a purchasing bias to it, and there's not a specific item that would be geared toward, you know, general introductions, if you will.
Okay.
But as Mary said, those others would have opportunities, and there would be occasionally there'll be pre-meetings if it's needed. Some stuff is kind of dry, but there's always going to be opportunities to.
So I'm looking at our website. If you go to our Port Freeport website, Business with the Port tab, there's public notices, and right now there are 2 public notices on the website asking for proposals for operations and shop improvements, as well as the Dole building repair, and you can click and read more. So there's an example going on live right now. We have 2 things going on.
Okay, great. So as far as any type of certifications, Mary, is there, I mean, I know that, you know, we try to, you know, encourage people to get like their hub certifications, their, you know, any DBEs, anything like that. Is that something that the port takes into consideration?
The process, yes, we do, depending on what the bid is, what the process is, whether we're just getting quotes or whether it's a process where we're getting bids. But there's nothing formal other than if we're involved in a construction project that involves federal funds and a grant situation type process, then we have to follow federal guidelines, and that's where they're really looking for all those situations and those certifications. And of course, that will still be in our bid document, you know, that you have to be safe and by safety certified and drug-free workplace and all those federal requirements like that. But of course, we always require everybody to follow our safety rules and those sensible things when you conduct business with the port, but we don't require any special certifications.
Okay. Okay. And
we
so,
will ask for liability insurance certificates if you are going past the gate into the secure zone and doing construction work or doing a lot of work back there. You do have to have auto insurance liability and those common sense things that you need. We will ask for those certificates.
okay. And so from a, say like from a supply standpoint, I know Rob, you mentioned that you guys don't have a lot of like daily or, you know, weekly, but like from safety supplies and PPE, with all of that being very big right now with COVID and, you know, going on, is that, how would a supplier be able to come in, and would they just need to do the vendor application for that?
We don't have a vendor application. So if regardless of your business, if you're interested and you have a service or you sell safety supplies or something like that, feel free to send, you can go to our website and send it to specific department heads are listed, or you can always send it to Rob and I, and we'll route it to the right department that does that purchasing, so they're aware that you are out there and can give you a call and visit when they're looking at buying something.
Okay, great.
In that example, I'll just add on in that example. So it could be, Rita, that we would not need a heavy amount of our own PPE for our employees, because again, we have a somewhat of a smaller staff. However, our operations team is in daily you know, contact with our vendors or our tenants, and with like the ILA and whatnot. So there's a chance that one of our tenants who would have hundreds of employees at the port at any given time would come to our operations and ask those types of questions. Hey, can you guys recommend this or recommend that? So it might be that we, you know, your contact with us doesn't lead to a direct business with Freeport as an entity, but it leads to business with one of Freeport's tenants. So I would encourage you guys. I downplayed the daily grind of expenses for Freeport, but we are definitely a mechanism that welcomes the contacts, and we'll share what we can. And as Mary said, because we ourselves have a more limited spend, we don't have some of these formal processes that maybe you all are used to with some of the larger industry participants locally, but we will pass that information along. I shared I'd only been here 18 months, but that's one thing that was, it was actually quite a change for me coming from the local industry where we just forwarded everything to our corporate entities. But here there's a much more hands-on personal approach where we do try to share that information and get it in the right person's hands. And I don't think I want to represent that our operations team is going to be out, you know, as salesmen necessarily, but we'll gladly share information with a broader group.
And
Okay,
again, that directory also lists companies. So it's got phone numbers of the companies, so you can always call and ask them if they need your services.
okay. Great information. Do we have any other questions with any of our attendees? Is there anything else anyone would like to ask? Okay. So Jana, do you have anything else you would like to add before we wrap up? Jana, you're on mute.
No, I don't have anything, but thank you guys for, I really want to thank you, Rob Lowe and Mary Campus, for taking your time out and doing this presentation. I thought this was very interesting. You gave a lot of information, but thank you. And thank you to our attendees for attending, and I hope you got everything that all the questions answered, and hope to see you in our next webinar.
Yes, no, absolutely. So, once again, we just want to thank you guys for joining, Rob and Mary and Jessica. Having these types of sessions are really important for our local businesses and actually, hearing, how you can make that happen, just any networking opportunities is just really important. So we really appreciate you guys sharing all of this great information with us. I think, I know I personally got a lot out of what you guys shared today. It was really good statistics as well to see what's going on in our port. So that was really nice to see as well. But thank you guys so much. And I'm sure that you'll be getting some information from some new suppliers and vendors.
All right.
So,
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
yes, thank you.
Mhm.